Good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday. I was gonna do the Lavazza Taza Banana Fanta Faux Fanta thing, but then I'm like, why? Why? When I could do something that I actually enjoy drinking. So I've got the Blackberry Cobbler here. So good, really nice. Grab my, oh, and this mouth guard. And I think I saved the little piece of paper that tells me a step-by-step on how to do this. And everything's all plugged in, everything's over here, water's going. I found something really funny the other day. So this is a flashlight. It is working, as you can see. But this is the funny part, I think. And a lot of people will agree with me. A lot of people will be like, what on earth are you talking about? It's a Coleman flashlight, you know, wide beam, yada, yada, yada. It's an incandescent, it's you know, it does what it needs to if you're in a horror movie these days. This is the funny part. When I took the batteries out to just kind of see, you know, how old are these batteries? You know, they still work, that's nice. They have a date here of 2013, which means that these are older than 2013 because that's when they're supposed to be like, you know, you definitely need to not use these or change these out. Look how pristine these things are. 2013. 12 years ago, these were out of date and they're still in here. These are Ds, by the way, D cells. They're still in here. They're still functioning. I mean, because regardless of load, you know, batteries tend to go bad, you know. They tend to explode. Batteries, I've found when I was going through Granddad's house, there were things that were 40 years old that still had the batteries in them. The batteries had exploded all over the compartments, and, you know, such things would be fun if the battery hadn't eaten the majority of the electronics on the inside. So it's just really funny and neat that this old Coleman flashlight, patent pending. The patent was pending, and I do not know. It says China on it, right? Yeah. I don't know. They don't really stamp these with dates, so it'd be interesting to see how old this is. But still, good old Coleman flashlight. Batteries from pre-2013. I mean, how long did they predict that those things lasted back then in the packaging? So it's just absolutely fascinating. I thought that was really cool. What you doing? I got him these little things to chew on. I was hoping they would start to chew on them. We're going back at it? Now we're going to protect it. I have 4 of them, 4 left. I need to put at least another one out. Saw them on Instagram. I'm like, taking them to the vet for a dental cleaning means an overnight stay. And I don't know if it would stress them out as much as it would stress me out. I just don't want them, you know, I just don't want them. This is supposed to be at about a maca, I think. Fairly ground. We'll do that. So it's just like, maybe I can get them something to chew on. Maybe that would be better for them. Maybe that would make everything a little bit easier on them. I don't know. Taking them to the vet is an ordeal. So it's just like, you know, what can I do at home? Is there anything I can do at home? Oh, boy. Oop. If I turn the damn thing on, that'd be great. I was at a marching band competition over the weekend. High school marching band. A friend of mine has a son who plays tuba, sousaphone. I'm sure that they're all different things, but at the same time. Let's see, 26-ish? Sure. concert tuba. His was, I think his was a wraparound sousaphone. I don't think it was because it kind of varies between the bands, it seems like. A lot of them have the rocket launchers, the big tubas that go on their shoulders, and they have the other tubas that kind of wrap around while they're marching. You can only imagine the pain. My brother did the rocket launcher tuba on the shoulder, and he must have had a lot of pain from that stuff. I just remember my friend and fellow band person was a bass drum player, and he had horrible back spasms. I think he still does to this day because of all the stuff that we had to do in marching band. But I went. I was in a school system called Tri-Valley. I think we were there in our youth, but we were definitely not on that field, and that school didn't exist. They've definitely got a newer school. It doesn't necessarily mean it's better. It just means that it's newer. It's a newer school. So, there we go. Very nice. And I mean, the kids. I mean, all of the bands did really well. The biggest problem, though, I was like I said, my friend, his son is in the my family friends. I know both of them really well. They have their son in the band. Their daughter was also in the band, but she happened to graduate last year. The band did really well. They were a 3 at that competition last year, and they were a 2 this year. So it's a bump up in score. I believe ones qualify for the state competition, and unfortunately they did not qualify this year, but they are still a growing band because, like a lot of the bands in smaller school districts, they hadn't had one for a minute. My old high school, there was a certain point, I don't know how long it was quite a while, where they didn't have a band or music. They turned the giant band room into a storage area. They sold all, I think I've had this rant before, but to be honest, it bears repeating because of how terrible. I'm a huge backer of music stuff. Always have been, always will be. All right, let's do this. Oh, you know what? We just need to go up to the line. The rest of this is just gravy. So let's get this up to the line. It should start going through because there's really very little resistance other than the packed coffee. So once it gets fairly saturated, it'll find itself. Oh, that's a bit much, but that's okay. It'll find its way down and through. And Box Cat, where he can watch me. What do you think, bud? You all right? Oh yeah, you're great. I need to move the other box back. Oh wait, no, the smaller bread box that he's in right now is over there. And Matt's birthday was last week. No, it was a week ago. We had his father and sister over. He made the beef and noodles that he loved. His grandmother and mother made for him on birthdays, and he made it, and it turned out really, really well. The noodles were amazing. Homemade noodles are always great. I'm sorry, I'm going off on lots of different things. See, it's already you can kind of see here. If I hold it up a little bit, you can kind of see it's already starting to drip through a little bit here. I can get my thumb out of the road without dropping the cup. So, we'll wait another 30 seconds here, and then we'll start pressing. So yeah, I mean, when we were, they sold, I'm trying to get my thoughts back together. The cat in the box gets me every time. So the school board in their Southeastern Ohio Enlightenment sold all of the instruments. They even went so far as to grab all of the music that was in the band room, all of the sheet music that was in that band room, choir stuff, concert band stuff, marching band stuff, everything. And they they pulled it out of there, and I assume sold it somehow. All right, we're gonna 2, 3, 4, 5. Ooh, listen to it. Wow. That's cool. So basically it's just puck saturated. Stuff's already kind of blipped through a little bit. So now we're just adding pressure to the mix to force the rest of the water through the coffee that's already activated. And it's a rapid brewer. So this is going to be kind of a concentrate. The best thing to do in this case would be to kind of 50-50 it a little bit. I mean, you don't even have to 50-50 it. You could just put as much as you want. I mean, put the amount of coffee in here, of course. But then, you know, if you want to just put 25% more in there, you can. You can put 50% more in there, you can. You know, you want to match it 1 for 1, that's fine. You know, it just depends on what you feel like. This Rapid Brewer is pretty good. It's a little bulkier than the AeroPress, but at the same time, it is still very portable. I mean, it collapses all the way down. And you know, I even think there's a little traveling case. If you have enough room for a shaving kit, odds are you've got enough room for this coffee thing. I guess it depends. Are you going to shave while you're on your trip, or are you going to drink coffee while you're on your trip? Which are you doing? What are you doing? Think about it. Think about it. So we'll let that sit for a minute. Yeah, they sold everything in the band room. I don't even know where the trophies were. They may have stored those. I don't know. We had trophies. We had trophies before us, and we had trophies for when we were there. My 4 years. So, yeah, they took everything apart, and it was we were invited when the new band director invited the alumni to come and play with the band for a football game. She was telling me stories about how they had to go back and rebuy or buy new or buy a lot of used instruments so that the kids would be able to learn and play. And then the tuba that they had, because she was a brass, and I think she was a tuba player, the band director. It was her old tuba, I do believe. Oh, no, wait. It was a tuba that was donated from a school that she went to and taught at, I think. And so they donated an old tuba that needed some work done to it. And yeah, so that they would be able to have a tuba. It's aggravating. Ooh, yeah, that's concentrated. I don't think you could. Did I say that I got a lot of Blackberry Cobbler out of it before using the OXO? Because that one didn't seem as. That one didn't seem as. You know what I mean? It didn't come off as tasty. So yeah, so I went from 140 to 244. So it's a little bit of more volume in there. I mean, as it is, it's really nice. I don't think that it's really weird because some preparations are made for certain coffees, and certain coffees slide in really well with certain preparations. But there are some where they're just like, you know, you miss things. Things don't hit as well. Like this with the Chemex, really good. This with the OXO, it's still fine. You still get a bit of blackberry in there, but it's just a little bit too bitter in the end, even adding some water to it. So this is more of a Chemex or Clever kind of coffee. Whereas the other one, I think the Frankenbones played very well with this. And we'll play with this tomorrow with the Frankenbones. I'll give this another little clean out. Anyway, so the band competition was, so that's the saga of what happened to my old high school and its band. They just decided that they were going to shutter the music program and then sell all of the instruments, so that when they came back to it and they're like, you know what, we need a band. We need a band. And they like gave the band director deadlines and stuff like that. And she's like, how? You know, there was no instruction. And you can't tell non-music people how learning how to play music works. It's really difficult, especially if they're just go ahead and do it. You can tell anyone to, here's a football, take it and cut left. I mean, there is more nuanced stuff to football, of course there is. But I would say it's a little bit easier to learn, maybe not how to pass or how to catch, but how to take the ball and run with it. I'm not saying it's easy, I'm just saying that it's not maybe as difficult as learning how to play an open hold clarinet, or how to manage your embouchure while playing a trumpet, and then moving it from a trumpet to a cornet, and then moving from a cornet to a flugelhorn, and all of that stuff. It's probably not as detail oriented as a sport might be. There is some talent you need to be in a sport. There's a lot of lessons that you need in order to bring out the talent in someone who is musically inclined. That's my anti-football, my anti-sports kicking in. I'm not a fan of sports. I never have been. And it's just inherent in my DNA, I think. Never really been a sports person. As it mellows, it gets a little bit nicer. You're just missing a lot of that fruity tang using the OXO, I think. I may have said something completely different. And it depends. It depends on a lot of different things when it comes to making coffee. I probably used the 2-filter system. I probably did the rapid pressing. I probably did that Lance Hendricks method. This is just, as stated by the OXO Rapid Brewer people, this is the coffee that it makes normally. So a little different, a little more bitter, a little less blackberry than I would enjoy, so on and so forth. So it's still a good coffee, and Chemex or Clever, or just in a coffee pot would be perfect. I think still perfect. But yeah, for the OXO, I don't think this is the coffee for the OXO. But it's still not bad. So yeah, band competition. It was fun. Judges are harsh people, man. It's really, and we were up at the top of the stands, and the booth behind us is where they were doing all of their recording of watching the kids do what they were doing. And there's nothing worse than hearing a judge say, you know what, I think this music is a bit too technical for these kids. I'm like, what kind of a backwards, backhand, asshole response can you give kids? Then, you know what, this is a little too hard for you. You're pulling it off, but this is a little too hard for you. And I think Ryan said that some of the people said the same thing last year at some of the competition, some of the judges. This is just a little bit too technical for you. And that just seems so horrible. What a horrible thing to say to kids that are learning, This is a little too difficult for you. This is a little, because that's what they're saying. It's a little too technical. It's the same thing. This is difficult and too difficult for you. And then you go out and you watch kids the same age or younger out there doing horn solos for other bands. Oh my gosh, it was just lovely, I don't know, it's weird. It wasn't too technical for them. But at the same time, so a lot of those kids can be professionally tutored. And in the smaller schools, the majority of the kids only have band practice and practicing on their own in order to advance. They don't have the luxury of tutors. They don't have the luxury of a designated brass instructor, a designated woodwinds instructor, a designated drum instructor. They have one teacher who has to wear many different hats. So they just don't have that luxury. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird how things just ebb and flow, and then when something's missing, somebody gets nostalgic over it, so they hire somebody to quickly implement something. And with music, you can't quickly implement anything. You just can't. So music is learned. So a band is not one person who is exemplary at music. A band is an entire group of people functioning as one unit. And that unit has to be cohesive. So, yeah. So, but I watched all of those bands. There were two C bands, two B bands, like two A bands, and then three AA bands. And I think it's based off of school size. So you can have a giant band and a small school and be in like a class B. So it's what my buddy is finding out, and every time I hear him talk about it, he says how unfair it is. Because a lot of these schools now, they've got microphones for solos. Instead of teaching kids how to project, how to add a little bit more oomph behind their lung capacity, now they've got microphones that they're hooking up to instruments. Things have to evolve. Things have to move forward. And, you know, they're like, he says, you know, it's just not fair to everybody else that these kids can, you know, these people can afford microphones. And I'm like, well, I mean, I'm sure there was a point where it wasn't fair that kids could have a half-decent working tuba because of how much tubas cost. If you had a tuba that could play solid notes, that seemed unfair, you know. I mean, because you had to pay to either get the tuba fixed or buy a new tuba, and schools didn't have that kind of money. So, I mean, this is the natural evolution of schools not being able to afford equipment for band competitions. That a microphone is superfluous to me. A microphone is ridiculous. Having a soundboard, the amount of wires strewn across one of these band's pit crews, and the pit is, you've got the football field, and then you've got the space in between the out-of-bounds line and then the stands. And that's basically the pit crew, where the pit crew sits. They don't move. They have their xylophones, the marimbas, their gongs, their giant drum, you know, and now you can have bass guitars and keyboards. And the amount of wires strewn across. And last year, there was an instance where I watched a marching band have a guitar solo during a drum break. Sometimes they'll let the musicians rest and just march. That's when the drums come out and they do their little drum solo for, you know, like a minute, 2 minutes, maybe a minute and a half or 30 seconds, whatever, just so everybody can get their lips reset. And he was supposed to have this guitar solo, and I assume it was supposed to be epic. None of the plugs that they plugged into that guitar worked. I would assume it was the guitar at this point, rather than all of the three chords that they tried. It's possible, not probable, but possible. But at the same time, it's like you introduce all of these electric elements, and then you know, you gotta, sure, this flute is microphoned, which is okay if it's a flute solo, I guess. But at the same time, I'm missing half of the notes because the mic keeps cutting out. You know, all of these electric things and Bluetooth things and Wi-Fi things, and they just overlap, you know, and Bluetooth is so unreliable at a certain distance. And then Wi-Fi is unreliable because depending on which hertz setting you're on, you know, it's unreliable, you know, and even plugs with electricity going through them, unreliable. Not only unreliable, but dangerous, because that's, you know, you're going through grass or you're going through turf and you're going through water sometimes, you know, it may be raining. And then all the tripping hazards, all of the tripping hazards. As it cools down, it mellows out a little bit and you get a little bit more blackberry. So depending on how long you want to wait, this has actually gotten a lot sweeter. It's not cold. It's not lukewarm. It is at the right temperature where you're not going to burn yourself, but you still enjoy the coffee. And I might be turning around a little bit. If you got time to wait, yeah, get his tail adjusted. It's hard to get your tail adjusted, isn't it, bud? Nope. It's not the way he wanted. I'll have to figure it out later again. He came in the wrong way anyway. We will talk to you tomorrow. We'll do the Frankenbones in the OXO Rapid Brewer. I think it turned out really well. And then we'll go back to doing the modified Lance Hendrick coffee. I'm not going to go for espresso. I'll just go for the most flavor I can get out of the Frankenbones. Half-assed using his method of actually using the filter, but still filling it up with water and then doing like a 1 to 2, 1 hot water to 2 coffee, you know, just to dilute it, because that's what this thing's for. This thing is rapid out and then add a little water to dilute it a little bit. And it works great. It's such a great device. It works so well. We will talk to you tomorrow. I hope you have a great day. See ya. Bye.